And welcome everybody to the Riverside County Board Brief as we give you a brief look at what took place during today's Riverside County Board of Supervisors meeting. My name is Pep Fernandez and we got a lot to get to on this episode, including with our friend here, John Hildebrand, the director of the planning department here for the County of Riverside. And John, today, most of the time consumed during the meeting with the short-term rentals. Now, I don't want to get tripped up on my own words. I will say it passed. It was 5-0, but what exactly was passed in terms of short-term rentals today?
Thank you very much. It was a very long hearing today, but there were two items of note that got passed today. One was the short-term rental ordinance itself, and then there was the short-term rental moratorium, temporary moratorium on new short-term rental certificates in the Idlewild and Wine Country area. The ordinance itself did get passed today. The board discussed a lot of different provisions under it. So primarily occupancy was the biggest one we discussed the most. So they did change our recommendation from what we brought forward to a tiering effect. So it's now based upon the square footage and the size of the property based upon how many people you can have in your short-term rental facility. A couple other provisions had to do with what the requirements were going to be for larger scale homes that have more people in them as far as the upgrades. Specifically, fire sprinklers was an issue that that tracked back down to just being a recommendation rather than a requirement. And then there were a couple other different provisions that they talked about that they were mostly in agreement with. And we did achieve a consensus today, and the ordinance was passed based upon those changes.
So there was a lot of back and forth between yourself and your staff with the supervisors, and it sounded like, as you mentioned, you touched on it already, the topic of occupancy. You know, what exactly does that look like? Is it based on square footage? I mean, there was a lot of back and forth with, well, how many acres is that property and whatnot? Was that, would you say, the biggest thing that you guys had to hurdle to get this thing passed?
It was. Occupancy has been the biggest issue from day one. And our goal as staff is try to provide a fair and balanced approach to occupancy, but also protect the public health and safety. And to achieve that, it took a lot of back and forth to get there and make that happen. What we proposed coming into this meeting wasn't quite what the Board of Supervisors wanted, so they suggested an alternative to that, which we worked through during the hearing, and it is based upon square footage of the house and a combination of how big the property is to determine how many people you can have on it.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, finally, John, where do we go from here? Is this thing done? Does it go back to the board? Where do we go from here?
So the ordinance has been passed. It goes back to the board next hearing as a policy item. But the moratorium has to come back. The moratorium is in effect for 45 days. Okay. And we are obligated to come back to the board and provide them a report on our progress to address the issues surrounding that moratorium, specifically the concentrations of short-term rentals within the Idlewild and Wine Country area, and have a working plan of what we're going to do next as the next phase.
Still work to be done.
Still work to be done. More homework.
That is John Hildebrand, Planning Director for the County of Riverside. Thank you so much, John. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
So if you're watching the board brief, yes, we are on a little bit later than normal because of the lengthy Board of Supervisors meeting today, most of it consumed by the short-term rental discussion. But we also talked a little bit, an update on the Fairview fire in the Hemet area. Let's take a look at some video from earlier today as Riverside County Fire Chief Bill Weiser came before the board to give them an update on just, how many resources we're putting at this fire. What's the fire right now in terms of containment and the lines being drawn around this fire to protect homes and families and businesses in Riverside County. So we had a chance to hear from Chief Bill Weiser as well as Ramon Leon from the Emergency Management Department. He is a deputy director, talking a little bit more about the current status right now of the Fairview fire and also declaring it a local emergency. What exactly does that mean in terms of funding to combat this fire? Here's more.
Good morning, Board, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Van Wagenen, Tran. Ramon Leon, Deputy Director for the Emergency Management Department. One of the main reasons why we proclaim anytime there's an emergency is whenever we look at local resources and they're just getting exhausted, this is our cry for help for the state so we can start the process going if there's going to be any type of federal funding tied to this event. So that's one of the primary reasons.
I also don't want to be remiss, and I almost forgot the unwavering support, not only from you here on the dais and all of you supervisors who have all been fully supportive of the fire since I've been here, but I also can't help but say the EO staff as well, the executive office, nothing but fully supportive of me. Juan was there from the beginning, ensuring that I had everything that we needed from Riverside County. Everything that could be put to it was put to it, and I really appreciate that kind of support here. The fire is now just a little over 28,000 acres. We do have line all the way around the fire currently. We are still mopping up, ensuring that we have the hot embers out 300 feet all the way around it, and improving our lines.
So good to hear the firefighters are making significant progress here on the Fairview fire. And that was an update from Chief Bill Weiser and Ramon Leon from the Emergency Management Department. Now, as we were talking about the Fairview fire during the Board of Supervisors meeting, Supervisor Karen Spiegel also brought up something very cool regarding the Prado Dam. There will be a repainting project. We had Jason Yulee from Flood Control up in front of the dais talking more about that, and working very closely with the Army Corps of Engineers as well for this repainting project, which is a long time overdue. Here's more from Supervisor Spiegel on the Prado Dam.
Those of you who don't know, I was going to bring my comments, but he's standing up here. We did a groundbreaking in the midst of all that mess in Corona. Thank you, Jason, for you and your team. Incredible. Those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, the Prado Dam will be repainted. We did a groundbreaking to start it. Jason and his team were the workers, and I got to sit there and be there with you. So thank you. Your communication and working with the Army Corps in the middle of all that. No, you didn't miss a beat. Yes. And so those of you who don't know, by March 2023, the end of March, we should have a ribbon cutting of the new dam painted. Yes. So thank you for everything.
And that was Supervisor Karen Spiegel again on the Prado Dam. And a big thanks to John Hildebrand, the Planning Director for the County of Riverside, talking more and giving us clarity on today's passing 5-zip of the short-term rental ordinance. My name is Pep Fernandez. That'll do it for this edition of the Board Brief, and we will see you next time.